Hello everyone, Ben Cathro here with Pinkbike. It is about 15 minutes after the race here in Fort William for the 2023 World Championships. We've come up the hill to suffer some midges, look at some track, and actually it's been a bit of time in weather that's not raining, which was very unlike the race. And I want to talk about a few things that happened. So if you've not seen the race, go watch it if you can. If you're lucky enough to live in a country where you can actually view the live broadcasts, or if you're good enough about configuring a VPN, you can definitely watch it. Those of us that were lucky enough to be here, we got to witness a good race and get very wet at the same time. So the live feed at the World Champs is always a little bit different. There's some different commentators, different production crew, and the one thing I noticed that really stood out to me, and I don't know if I'm being weird, but they were using canned audio for bike noises. I don't know if anyone noticed, the bike noises didn't match up with what was actually happening on screen. But every time they landed a jump in the motorway, it was the exact same noise every time they landed. If they landed to flat and had the heaviest landing ever, it was like ka-doo. And then if they landed it super smooth, exact same noise, ka-doo. Just every single jump. But that might be me being weird, you probably didn't notice. In the junior female category, the race wasn't even today, it was actually the day before, and it was a Kiwi domination in the female category. Sasha Ernest was in third place with a nice confident run considering she was really struggling with the track. In second was Poppy Lane, another Kiwi rider who rode very confidently and scored second place. But the winner was Eris van Leuven, who had a really aggressive, confident run. She was pumping the turners, she was scrubbing the motorway jumps and did a very good time to take the win. As a first-year junior world champion, super impressive. In the junior male category, we were all expecting Ryan Pinkerton to have a really good race, but he had a crash the run before his race run and put himself out of the running. When it did come to the final, Leo Abella from France got third, which is his best result of the year and super impressive. In the final battle was between Bodie Kuhn and Henry Kiefer. And I had my money on Henry, but Bodie put in an unreal run. He was super good and he was up at some splits. And it looked like he might take the win, but he had to settle for second place, just a little bit back off of Henry Kiefer, who's now the junior world champion. In the elite women's category, we were really bummed to hear that Rachel Atherton and Nina Hoffman had injured themselves, and we were thinking there's no way they're going to ride. But they did. They did their quali runs, and then they did their race runs, and it was just super cool to see Rachel racing, but you could tell her shoulder was not up to much, so she just got down safely at her home world championships. Nina Hoffman was on a pretty quick run, and it looked like she could be contending for the win. But she hit a braking bump, collapsed into the bike, and then washed out on the corner after the big step down. It was really cool to see Scottish hero Louise Ferguson having another really good World Championships race, and she finished in fourth, which is just out of the medals, but hometown girl did well. Marine Cabarrou showed that she is definitely returning to form with a very strong run in the wet and slippy conditions, scoring third place. And then Camille Valanche, who was pegged for potentially getting the win, definitely going to be competing for that win. She was very close. She finished in second place and her run was super smooth, but it looked like she didn't quite take the risks that might be needed to win world championships. The lady that did take the risks was Valley Hull. She was riding super confident. She was pumping through those turns. She looked almost flawless, but there was a big mistake right where we're stood. And a lot of people made mistakes here. Maybe it was because there were so many midges here. I'm not sure. But they're really bad. In the elite men's race, the big story was clearly the weather. Greg Williamson got down the hill with a pretty dry run, nothing too drastic going on, and set an excellent time near the start of the race. And then the rain started and it came down proper heavy, proper you're wet in a few seconds kind of rain. This track does do really well in the wet. You can still ride fast on most of the sections, but some bits start to get chewed up, like the woods and some specific corners. So we had this similar situation where we're like, oh, is Greg gonna win? But then Angel Suarez put down an absolutely amazing run in the wet to go into the lead. As time went on, you could see the track conditions were deteriorating in spots and it was looking like it was going to be very hard for someone else to get the win. And that was until Danny Hart set off down the hill on what looked to be like his famous World Champs Champery run from so many years ago. He was throwing caution to the wind, he was up at the splits, but then he lost time towards the bottom of the hill on that motorway because he's a very light rider and I think he just mistimed some of those landings and didn't carry as much speed. But then immediately after him, Charlie Hatton, he just went on a tear. He was sprinting, he was aggressive, and he was just pinpoint precise. He was taking risks, but it didn't look risky as he was doing it because the bike wasn't sliding, it wasn't dancing everywhere. He just rode super strong and confident. And he's one of those riders that stays very centered in the bike, which helps that front wheel grip. And he wasn't flinching. A lot of people would come in, be a bit unsure, lean back, but he just stayed aggressive. And what a run. He got down to the bottom and went into the hot seat. Super, super impressive, but there was a lot of good riders to come, and it looked like there could be someone else that would beat him and take the world champs. But this corner caused a few issues, and there were some riders that would have won that didn't because of what happened here. So this corner is right at the bottom of the hill. It's a long physical track, and by the time you've gotten here, you're a little bit tired, shall we say. After this corner, the track is flat, verging on uphill. So speed out of this corner is super important. And there was maybe 3 main ways of riding this corner. There was a fully inside line, and then you would corner on the bridge. Then there was a wide to middle to get inside of the big rut that had formed in the corner. And then there was just your standard outside and rail all the way around that outside rut. Once it got wet, the middle line became not as consistent, so riders were choosing between the wide or the inside. Now usually when it's wet, outside lines are king. Generally speaking, that's where the support is. Everything else is slippy, so most riders will default to that. But the ground here, actually kind of grippy in the wet. It's like kind of sandy, so the inside was still very good. And the outside developed a big rut. And this rut upset a few people who were on very good runs. Matt Walker being one of them. Let's go down and have a look at this rut, see what happened. So Matt Walker, he was coming in, he was on a good run, and he slapped into this rut in the corner. And the way the corner's shaped is there's a bit of a hump, like a crest on the way out. So when you hit it hard, you take off on the exit. And if your balance isn't perfect, you kind of can't fix things until you hit the ground again. So Matt, slightly undercommitted, maybe slipped on the entrance, which put him off balance, took off with his direction and momentum taking him to the right-hand side of the bridge. And he must have been in the air, heading towards it, thinking, get that wheel on the ground so he can just steer back onto it. But he didn't have time. Front wheel just disappeared from under him, bike into the river, and he got slammed. He got absolutely body checked into the ground, landed on his face, and actually I'm surprised he got back up, honestly. Like, it was a horrible crash. The worst thing, you never want your front wheel just to disappear like that because you just get slapped into the ground. So that was the end of his run. And a lot of people had similar things happen. And the one that was really important was Laurie Greenland. He hit this outside corner and he looked like he was definitely on for the win. And he just slightly mistimed it, got the balance just a little bit wrong, went wide, hit the brakes, had to steer back down, didn't do a Matt Walker luckily, but he lost his momentum. And it is insane the amount of time you can lose considering you have to be sprinting all the way to the motorway section. Do you know who did get this corner good? Charlie Hatton. He got the inside super clean. He carried the speed, he carried his momentum. And I'm going to download some clips, and unfortunately I can't show you due to UCI rules, but I'll tell you just how much he made up on those other riders on this section. That much. Wow, what a big number. I hope it's a big number. And there were lots of other riders that had some issues with the weather. We had Andreas Kolb that was on for the win, made a big mistake up in the woods, small slip, lost some momentum, slightly offline, game over. Bruni and Vergier had lots of mistakes as well. It was just such a hard race to do. The person that rolled the dice and won was Charlie Hatton. Super impressive, biggest result of him, winning the home race, world champion at home. Tell you what, that's going to give him a confidence boost, and it wouldn't surprise me if we see him on the podium again by the end of the year. We'll finish up with a little bit on Pinkbike racing. Myself, I've just gotten back on a bike. I'm taking it very easy. I don't know which race I'm coming back to, but I will be in Andorra. Might try and ride a bicycle if I get the all clear from medical experts. T-Will Lally was here doing some managing, helping the riders out. Wyatt Harrington was also here and he was ready to race. First time over in Scotland racing, and unfortunately he had a bit of a tumble. He's injured his shoulder. Fingers crossed he'll be all good for the rest of the season. But the big one we were all excited for, Amy Kenyon, home race. She wanted the World Championships and she put down a really good run and she finished 4th just back. Gutted for her. I think she will be feeling that one for a long time. She was really, really gutted about it because she wanted that win. But I think on reflection, she will see that given the circumstances, it was a really good result. And there's a lot more to that story, but you'll have to watch the Pinkbike series at the end of the year to see what happened. So that was it from World Championships here in Scotland. We will see you in Andorra for the next round of the World Cup. Thank you very much for watching, and I'm going to leave now. Bye! Bye! Whoa! Whoa!